morning, Year 9, and welcome to your pre-recorded science lesson. We're going to start off with the starter. So I'm going to run through the help portion in a second, but you have the choice of doing either the help or the challenge questions. Please make sure that you fill in on this recording as well as on your Google Docs. That would be brilliant, thank you. So, complete this reaction. This reaction is fuel plus oxygen goes to carbon dioxide plus water. What is this reaction called? Well, this is the combustion reaction. This is complete combustion, which means all of the fuel has been combusted into carbon dioxide and water. What is the definition of an element? Well, an element only has one type of atom. What is the definition of a mixture? Well, a mixture has more than one type of atom which are not chemically bonded together. You can also have mixtures of compounds. So what is a compound? Well, a compound is more than one type of atom which is chemically bonded together. Chemically bonded is the important part about the definition of a compound. And then lastly, what is a molecule? A molecule is two or more atoms which are bonded together. So that can either be, like a compound, two different types, such as carbon dioxide, or you could have it such as oxygen, where you have two of the same type of atom bonded together. Two oxygen atoms there, making an oxygen molecule. And we've got a little bit of maths here. 1.892 goes to 1.89. 2.807 goes to 2.81. And 5.216 goes to 5.22. Well done if you got all of those right. Now, you might want to pause this video and go back to your Google Doc, where you'll find a recap of last lesson. So there'll be a video explaining balancing equations in more detail and a few videos on combustion. Well done on all of the lovely posters that I saw. They were absolutely brilliant, but not everyone handed a poster in, which I was slightly disappointed about. So if you could, I'd really love to see your beautiful posters. I've got two beautiful examples here, one done on a computer and one done on paper. And they're both perfect examples of what I was looking for in your combustion posters. Now today, we are going to be talking about thermal decomposition. Now, this is an example of a thermal decomposition reaction. When you heat copper carbonate, as you can see here, we're heating copper carbonate in a test tube. It breaks down and forms copper oxide and carbon dioxide. We call this thermal decomposition. Do you know why? Well, the reason why this is called thermal decomposition is because thermal means heat. If you remember back to your energy topic, we had the thermal store, which is the heat store of energy. So thermal means heat, and decomposition means breaking into smaller pieces. So in thermal decomposition, heat is used to break a substance into smaller pieces. We go back to the copper carbonate reaction. See, the copper carbonate is being broken down into copper oxide and carbon dioxide. Now, if we write this in a chemical formula, CuCO3 goes to CuO plus CO2. Now I want you to have a go at exploring calcium carbonate. Feel free to pause the video. Number 1. What 3 elements are in the compound calcium carbonate? Well, the 3 elements found in calcium carbonate are calcium, carbon, and oxygen. You can see calcium and carbon here. Quite easy to spot. The oxygen you can tell because of the ATE on the end of the compound name. Anything with ATE on the end of the name means it contains oxygen. What is the chemical formula for calcium carbonate? Well, it's CaCO3. So if we look back to our copper carbonate thermal decomposition, you can see it is CuCO3. So with calcium carbonate, we replace the Cu for copper for the Ca for calcium. If thermal energy breaks up the compound, what does it break down into? Well, it breaks down into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. What is a pure metal product that is formed when calcium carbonate is heated? Well, if you look at the last answer to the last question, you will see that calcium oxide is one of the products, and that is the pure metal oxide which is produced. Calcium oxide. What is the chemical formula for this metal oxide? Calcium oxide. If we have a look back up to our copper oxide, we'll see it's CuO. That's copper oxide. So for calcium oxide, we swap out the Cu for copper for the Ca for calcium, which gives us the formula for the calcium oxide. Name the gas that is formed when calcium carbonate is heated. It's carbon dioxide. What is the chemical formula for this gas? CO2. Now you have finished those 7 questions, you can see there's quite a lot of similarities between the calcium carbonate thermal decomposition and the copper carbonate thermal decomposition we went through earlier. That is because with metal carbonates, there is a very simple formula. Metal carbonates, when heated, will decompose to a metal oxide and carbon dioxide. So have a go at doing a few of these. If we were in school, we would be doing a little experiment to see whether or not a powder that you would be given was a metal carbonate. So to test this powder, what you would do was put a little bit in a test tube and heat it over a blue Bunsen flame. If this was a metal carbonate, it would decompose into a metal oxide and carbon dioxide. Now you might be wondering why there is a tube going from the bung in the test tube into this grey liquid down here. Now you can see here it goes from clear to cloudy if carbon dioxide is present. Do you know the name of this liquid? Well, this liquid is called lime water. And when carbon dioxide is bubbled through it, it goes from clear to cloudy, or milky is the other way it could be described. So if this happens, we then know that it is a metal carbonate in the powder that you were testing to start with. Have a go at finishing these sentences. When you decompose calcium carbonate, it produces calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. The formula for calcium carbonate is CaCO3. The products of this reaction are calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. The formula for the products are CaO and CO2. To decompose this, you need to add heat. This reaction is called a thermal decomposition reaction. I recognise that thermal decomposition of calcium carbonate is a chemical reaction because the products are different to the reactants. Chemical reactions can, and chemical elements. Chemical reactions can combine and break up chemical elements. An example of a chemical reaction that breaks up chemical elements is thermal decomposition. So CaCO3 thermally decomposes to CaO and CO2. An example of a chemical reaction that combines chemical elements is the reaction of magnesium and oxygen. Mg plus O2 goes to MgO. Now, if you have a look at this reaction, we can see it's not balanced, because on the product side, we only have one oxygen, and on the reactant side, we have two. Now, to balance this equation, I have to add a 2 coefficient in front of the MgO, which gives us 2 oxygens. But it also gives us an extra magnesium, which means we are still unbalanced, as we only have one on the reactant side of the equation. To make this balanced, I have to add another coefficient in front of the Mg. Now, we have the same number of magnesiums and oxygens on both sides of the equation. So we now have a balanced equation. Well done for today, everybody. Make sure that you complete all of the online quizzes before the end of today's lesson. Make sure you also hand in your work before the end of today. And if you haven't already done so, please also hand in last lesson's work. Well done, and I will see you next lesson.